One night, many years ago now, I worked in Las Vegas for KDWN radio at that time, and I used to commute back and forth from here to Las Vegas every single day. Well, Ramona and myself were on the way home, and in fact had almost made it home, not more than, I don't know, a quarter, half mile at the most from here, as we were making one of the last turns toward the house. Ramona, who was in the driver's seat, said, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Behind us." And so I pulled the car over and stopped on the side of the road. We had a little Geo Metro, a red Geo Metro at that time. We still have a Geo Metro, by the way. And pulled over to the side of the road, and we both got out and stood and watched this incredible black triangle approaching us from the rear. It was still approaching at that point as we stood by the car. And I'm telling you, folks, this mama was big. It was pure black. It could not have been more than, I'd estimate 150 feet above us. It was monstrous as it passed overhead. The stars and the nearly full moon at the time went away, just like in the movie, Close Encounters or whatever. This thing couldn't have been doing more than about 30 or 40 miles an hour, and maybe less. I'd say maybe 30 miles an hour. It was not flying, not as a conventional aircraft would fly. It was floating. Not only was it floating or defying gravity, however you wish it, it was making no noise whatsoever, no apparent propulsion system whatsoever. It was so quiet you could hear crickets a quarter of a mile away, half mile away. And it was so close, I felt like I could have thrown a rock at it, but, I didn't. I was so shocked. And so I guess we were both actually in shock. And it passed directly over our heads and kept on going in a west-northwesterly direction, roughly toward what we know as Area 51 out here, just over the mountain range from me. But there's no question about what it was. There's also no question about what it is not. Now, we were not the only ones to have seen it in the valley this night. Many people in the valley saw it and reported it, and the newspaper out here made a call to Nellis Air Force Base. And in fact, I didn't even report it to the newspaper. This was in the next week's paper, that Nellis had been called because so many people had seen this. And Nellis responded with something like, and I'm paraphrasing, yes, it was possible that a secret mission overflew the Pahrump Valley on that date or that evening, but that it was a C-130 aircraft. That's right, a C-130 aircraft. And I tell you, folks, I was in the Air Force, and I rode in C-130s, and they're really big prop-pitch airplanes, and they make a lot of noise and would have rattled my teeth. And I can absolutely assure you what I looked up and saw, what Ramona looked up and saw, was a large, black, metallic-looking, you know what? I should retract that. Large, black, I can't say metallic-looking. You just sort of think metal because that's generally what aircraft are made out of, right? But it was large, black, silent, and either defying gravity or floating. That's what we saw. I made all the reports you're supposed to make to the various agencies, and I was embarrassed for the Air Force in coming up with that explanation for what had been a C-130. And then I thought very hard about it before I went on the air, because I talk about this kind of thing. That's what this program is all about, the unusual. Well, this was really unusual. And I thought very hard about it. Should I even report that I've seen something like this, even though I had my wife with me? Because doing this kind of a program, people are going to go, oh, come on. Sorry. That's what I saw. And ultimately, I decided I should tell the truth and tell what I saw. And that's how we're going to start out the conversation, talking about these for real, and they are for real. I can't say that about a lot of things I talk about on the air because I don't know it to be true, but Colin, I know what I saw, and it was a large black triangle so close to me, Colin, that if I'd had senses of me about me, I could have thrown a rock at the thing, just about.
I just can't believe I've gotten through.
Well, you have. So just sort of take a deep breath and tell me what you mean.
I will. 'Cause I believe in you, and I don't know who else to turn to. I have two things. One is I was introduced to a nurse in Reno, and I spoke to her one evening, and she told me of a doctor that could help me, that could possibly help me. And she spoke to him that evening, but and I remember this, that he did not want to speak to me over the phone, but he wanted me to call the following morning at his office.
What are we talking about here?
First was, okay, I'm sorry. The first one would be of someone who's worked for the government for over 10 years at Area 51.
You know somebody?
Wait till I finish the story. You're not going to believe what happened to me.
I'm trying to get the story.
I realize.
You know somebody who works at Area 51?
Well, I don't know him very well. I am trying to hide at this point.
Why?
And keep a low profile because I've had mental health and the police at my door. They were wanting to take me away.
Why?
Because of my experiences.
What experience? Hold it. Slow down. What experiences?
The video footage that I have and the memories that I have that I've seen.
Hold it. Slow down.
Okay.
What video footage?
I have video footage of someone being brought back through a closed window, and they were not in solid form. And I need to get this to you. I need an address as well before we hang up. I need an address.
No, we do not. We're not accepting mail like that. Here's what you've got to do.
Oh.
You listen to me very carefully, all right? Find a friend who owns a computer.
Oh, yes.
That shouldn't be real hard.
No.
And most anybody who's even a good quarter of a geek, let's say, knows how to turn video into a video file very quickly.
All right.
And they can be sent to me that way at my email address, which is artbell@mindspring.com.
Yes.
Okay?
That one I know. Okay, right. No, that's what I will do then. I didn't realize.
That's the way you can do it.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought I could just send it in the mail.
All right, now you've had UFO experiences as well.
Oh, yes. Some of the video footage that I have, well, it's exciting, and you'll truly want to see it. And
okay.
So anyway, but some of the encounters and some of the memories I've had of being taken, like I say, I'm not in that case, and this is very real.
Are any of these sexual in nature?
No, they're not.
Okay, all right.
But what happened with the doctor? He told her that he did not want to speak to me on the phone.
That he wanted you to come. Yeah.
So anyway, and knowing that he worked for Area 51 for over 10 years, I knew not to call him, Art. I knew it.
Then why'd you call him?
Because it was a moment in my life that I wasn't in control.
All right, so I think I see where this is going. So in other words, you went to this doctor, and all this trouble with people coming after you came after that, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got
the
it.
things he told me.
Like what?
How that I was paranoid, delusional, psychosis that I was experiencing. But I said, now, wait a minute. Now, you're telling me that, you don't believe? He goes, no, he said, I believe. He said, but what you're seeing is of this world. He says, it's not real. It's not alien. And I'm going, wait a minute.
Did you mention the videotape evidence to him?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He goes, well, what you're seeing. And I said, wait a minute. I have friends that have come over and have watched these tapes. And, they know what they're seeing.
All right. Well, all right. Then here's the deal. Listen to me. Just please send the videotapes to me. And that will end that. What I will do is take what you send and I will post it on my website. If what you send is as you say, with somebody, for example, being dragged through a window in a half-formed state, then trust me when I tell you, we will have no problem believing you at all. And I guess she went to the wrong person. Going to a doctor who was up at Area 51 for that many years might not be the best thing for somebody to do. So you made a big mistake there. At any rate, send the evidence. Evidence is really good. Video evidence is, in fact, really, really good. I realize that anything can be faked these days. Nevertheless, video evidence, in my mind, is high on the scale. So get it to me. We'll get it up. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello?
Yes.
Yes?
Mr. Bell?
Yes?
I would like to tell you something that has happened to me about 15 years ago.
Dear lady, I can hardly even hear you.
Oh.
Put your lips up to the phone and project. It happened to you 15 years ago. Where are you calling from?
Illinois.
All right, go ahead.
And I had been afraid to tell anybody because I didn't want to think I had gone to a loony tootie, you know?
Oh, you can tell me.
All right. I got prepared for bed, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I was in something. You know, I didn't know what it was at that time.
A ship.
And they aren't the way that people say that they were mean and cruel to them, you know.
They?
Well...
You mean the little guys?
Well, they were small, but they didn't have those great big eyes.
No.
They had large eyes, but they weren't real big like that.
Not overly large. What did they do to you?
All right. They told me, they didn't open their mouth or anything, but they told me not to be afraid. And I said I wasn't. In fact, I was very peaceful. It was a very peaceful thing. You know?
Kind of like when a dentist says, this isn't going to hurt.
It didn't. It didn't.
Good aliens.
They brought me to a table, and they pointed to it, and I went willingly and got up on the table. And
see, now why would you do that? I mean, you know that aliens do stuff to people who get on tables.
I had no fear.
All right.
I had no fear. It was very peaceful, and they were very kind to me, it seemed like. I can't recall too much of it, but I remember I sort of looked out of some kind of window, and I remember seeing, the stars, I guess they were, and I woke back up again in my bed, you know, and I thought, well, I couldn't even remember what I had dreamed about that night. Normally, I remember, you know.
So then what do you think they did?
Well, I remember I would put, when people would come in or somebody and I would go to greet somebody, or if I'd get uptight, I remember I used to put my legs very tight together and come stand erect, and I would keep my hands and my arms straight down to my body, but I would spread my hands out and sort of bow. And I remember my daughter saying, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Doing what?" I had no recall of why I was doing it then.
So then why?
Well, because it made me feel peaceful. And I recall that's the way that I greeted these people on the ship or wherever.
Oh, I see. All right, well, maybe that was it. Sort of like Spock's live long and prosper signal, right? Abductee. Many people claim they have been abducted. I would not get on the table, though. It's like going to the dentist. When the dentist says, this may pinch a little bit, that means this is going to hurt like hell. Prepare yourself. Nurse, hold him down. When they tell you it won't hurt at all, it's going to be moderate pain.
I was actually calling about a medical thing that happened to me that was quite interesting.
Okay, dentists say that too, by the way. All right, medical, what happened?
Well, I was having some shoulder pain, and I went to the local hospital, and they were going to give me an MRI to check it out, see if I tore anything in my shoulder. And they asked me if I work with metal or anything before you do an MRI. And I said, yeah, I'm a pipe fitter welder. And they said, well, we'll have to do an X-ray first. So they X-ray up around my head, my shoulder area. And they said, oh, you have a piece of metal in your shoulder. I didn't think anything of it. And I said, well, maybe, you know, something gets under the skin. In my profession, you bump into sharp metal. Could happen. So they said, well, we can't remove it with people with this and, you know, this stuff, metal in their shoulder or something like that. We're going to send you to a bigger hospital up in Boston. So they do. And I go in there thinking they just got to pull a shot of metal out. You know, I'm thinking, is it a bigger operation or something? And, you know, they just numbed up the area, and he pulls out this metal, and I take a look, and it's like a little shiny cylinder tube, like stainless steel. And I asked to look at it, and before I could, you know, the doctor just walks out of the room with it, and, you know, told the nurse to patch me up, which was basically a Band-Aid, and it wasn't really a much of a procedure. And then I asked them if I could see the piece of metal, and they said, "Oh, we already got rid of it."
Ooh.
And it was.
I
and
want
then I go
that.
back. Then I go back to my local hospital, my local doctor. I go, "That really wasn't much." And one of the nurses there just said, "Yeah, whenever anyone has one of those little pieces of metal in it, we send them into the bigger hospital in Boston."
Why is it I'm thinking there's a hospital, you said Boston?
Yeah.
With a whole room full of jars that are filled up with things like what came out of you.
Yeah. So, and then miraculously, that thing comes out of my shoulder, and it's the side that I was having pain on, and they pulled that out, MRI'd me, found nothing wrong, and within a week, the pain that I was having in my shoulder was gone.
Wow. That's quite the story. I can't imagine. I guess in working in metal, something like that could happen, but
yeah,
not
I figured
not looking like what you described.
I've pulled metal out of my hands, and it looks kind of nasty and dark. It gets discolored. You get a little shot or a sliver in there, and you know it's like a big splinter. I've pulled stuff like that out of my forearms and my hands.
Well, if they yanked a piece of metal out of me, I'd sure as hell want to see it.
Yeah, and I wanted to see it. And I saw them. You know, they had it in gauze, and they put it in their little plastic tray they had there, and I took a look at it. And it was just probably about an inch long, maybe an eighth of an inch around.
You know what? They probably took it away from you before it started glowing.
Yeah, who knows? But they just pulled it out, and it was nice and shiny, like a little stainless steel cylinder, and I don't work with any metal like that. And I'm like, well, there's no way something like that I could have bumped into something, and I would have felt something like that go in my shoulder. I didn't remember it. You know, I'm like, that's not anything I've ever worked with.
That's wild. That's a wild story,
my friend. Just threw it in the dish and walked away with it. And I said, "Hey, can I see that piece of metal?" And they were like, "Oh, we already got rid of it."
All right. Thank you very much. No way. No way I'd so want to see it. In fact, not only would I want to see it, I'd want to keep it. I'd want it in my own little jar. Thinking the worst, I think of a room there in Boston full of little jars, full of little things like you just gave up. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Art?
I'm okay, sir. Where are you?
North of the border.
North of the ball with tasty Canadian.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you ever come across any incidences where a child has believed to have been abducted, had an abduction experience, and experienced any hair loss as a result?
Only if they were dropped back to earth by their hair and it ripped.
Okay. I'm just wondering if it's because I haven't come across any in literature, and I have reason to believe that myself and my children have been involved in abduction situations.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah.
And you all have hair loss?
No. She's the only one that has that.
She?
She's 10 years old. She's half bald on her top of her head.
Holy smokes.
And has been since about age 4 or 5.
Do all of you remember this abduction?
You know what? I don't remember all the details. I've woke up with the sleep paralysis kind of thing. I'm positive somebody's there, but paralyzed so much that I'm blinded. I can't even open my eyes.
Well, then why do you think that she was abducted as well?
Well, because I was watching a TV program, and they had an artist depiction of a gray on the program.
Yes.
And my son, who was 3 at the time, and just enough to be able to talk properly, walked in, and he doesn't know anything about this stuff.
Well,
he walks in the room, sees the TV,
and
stops in front of it, stares, and says, "That's a bad man."
Oh.
And I said, "Who's a bad man?" I didn't even entertain him. I said, "Who's a bad man?"
Yeah, I understand. No, and they were showing
the TV.
Yeah, I got you. So obviously you recognize the gray. Now, one thing to know about gray, when you look at grays, what do they need, sir? What do grays need?
What do they need?
Yes, what do they need? You said you saw a gray on TV. So I've seen lots of grays. What do they need?
I don't know what you mean.
What do they need? When you look at a gray and you consider a gray and you sit there and you look
they got no hair.
There you go. They need hair.
Yeah. So
maybe they're trying to figure out how to get hair to grow.
I have no idea. here's what my son said right after that, though, which convinced me that something happened to him.
Yes.
After he pointed at the man, said he was a bad man, he says, they always make me go with them. And I tell them I don't want to go. And the way he said it, he was mad. I tell them I don't want to go.
Oh.
That's how he said. And I was like, my wife saw, she watched a light in the sky that watched her for a good 10 minutes. She kept trying to wake me up. I kept insisting, no, let me sleep. It's a plane. The minute I got out of bed, it took off. I saw it leaving. But
well,
it took straight up.
How about your wife? She's an adult. Has she had any experiences?
Has what?
Has she had any experiences?
Beyond that she recalls, no. But I don't quiz her a whole lot about it because she's upset enough about my daughter. But here's what I keep thinking. I'm thinking, okay, you can lose hair due to exposure to radiation.
Correct.
So what powers these things? And then X-rays and all forms of radiation.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. I suppose you could assume that they're powered by some kind of radiation. That is quite an assumption. One would assume even a more complex, advanced drive system than radiation. Because, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at, right?
Hi, Art. This is Mike from the Pacific Northwest.
Hello, Mike.
Hi. I think everybody needs to read Dr. Jacobs' book, The Threat. I really think that he has hit it on the head.
Well, that's right. I think that anybody who buys into this warm, fuzzy little creature thing is naive beyond reason.
Yeah, the altruistic thing of a total alien race that, according to his book, are using us. They're raping our women, impregnating them, taking the fetuses. That cannot be good. And the government is either powerless to stop them,
or in cooperation with them.
And I think that it's up to the citizens of this country to do what we can to dissuade these people. Either something primitive, like homemade Fletchet rockets, unguided, with fins, sharp-pointed, armor-piercing, to get in there to that bismuth magnesium layers and short them out. Something.
Now, I'm not sure that shooting at them is the answer.
Well, how else
whether they're whether they're extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial, shooting at them has got to be probably a poor bet.
Well, when you look at the Zulu tribes against the British, other tribes that took on a more powerful force, it was the very basic primitive technology that really worried that particular aggressor. When you look at the Afghanis against the Soviet Union or Vietnamese against us, we were terrified of punji sticks and everything else. It made us more leery, more cautious, made them, Russians, more cautious. I think unless we do something, it's going to continue. I mean, what they're doing to our women and men in this country is unconscionable. We do need to get the word out. Obviously, people don't want to listen. Of course, how can it be illegal to shoot a rocket at a UFO? I mean, who's going to believe you?
Well,
it's not written anywhere. Don't shoot rockets at UFOs.
Well, the way things are going, I'm sure the Indian government will fire something off at one of them, and that'll be it for us. I appreciate the call, sir, but I don't know. Remember during Independence Day, they had to have signs up. Please do not shoot at the saucers. And what were people in L.A. doing? Boom, 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 shooting at the saucers. Actually, as it turned out, they might as well have. Because they only wanted to kill us anyway. But, before you know what their intentions are, shooting at them as, to start with, is probably not very well advised. Good morning. Do you want to tell us roughly where you are?
In the Midwest.
Do you want to tell us exactly where you are?
In the Midwest.
All right.
Okay. I've since I obtained this footage, I've gotten out of the military.
What footage? What are you talking about?
I was in the Air Force Reserves.
Yes.
Flew an A-10. We were based. I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry.
You flew Warthogs, huh?
Yeah.
All right. A-10.
We were stationed out of Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana.
A-10s are basically tank killers, aren't they?
Correct.
Okay.
And we flew out of Grissom Air Force Base, they closed the base and they shipped us to New Orleans. And we were flying. Just happened. We were in Phoenix at the time of the UFO sighting over Phoenix.
Oh, you mean March 13th?
Yeah.
Oh, it was an incredible night. Something the size of nearly a city apparently hovered over the city of Phoenix.
Well, I got 25 minutes for my gun camera of that UFO sighting. If you send me a P.O. box or give me a P.O. box, I'll give you a copy of the film.
You wouldn't be yanking my chain, would you?
I wouldn't be calling you if I did.
I mean, you realize this is like offering candy to a child. You've got 25 gun camera minutes of the object over Phoenix?
Correct.
Oh, my God.
I mean, nobody's seen this video except myself and possibly you. If you give me a P.O. box...
I don't want it to go to a P.O. box. This is too sensitive.
Can we talk off the air?
I will arrange that, yes. Tell me, before I do that, though, just give me a little idea of what's on that film. In other words, what did your gun camera capture?
Pretty much all of it.
But I mean, describe what it saw, because a lot of people in Phoenix only saw lights.
They saw lights, but I saw what was above the lights and below the lights.
And what was that?
Something I've never seen.
A craft?
I would think so.
A solid craft of some kind?
Kind of a triangular, kind of rectangle kind of object.
That's what it was. That's how it was described from the ground, those who saw it.
That's what I saw.
And you would be willing to swear on the UCMJ, you know what that stands for, right?
No.
Uniform Code of Military Justice?
Yeah, but I'm out.
Well, I know. How did you manage to get the film? Can you tell me that?
I flipped on my gun camera.
Oh, no, I understand. But I mean,
I never told anybody I filmed it, and nobody ever really checked, let's say.
And so when you landed, you were able to remove that film and do what? Slip it in your pocket?
Well, we were in Phoenix. We were there. We were flying out to California for an air show.
Yes.
And we were just flying that night just to be flying around.
All right. What I want you to do is stay on the line, and I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to do something I would not normally do, and I'm going to play a commercial, and during that time, I am going to give you a private address. All right?
Okay.
Don't move.
And Santa Monica actually is the exact area where you have been seeing, and more importantly, perhaps, from a proof point of view, videotaping UFO encounters. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. We have videotaped more than 40 daylight UFO sightings above our apartment and immediate neighborhood since June of last year.
Okay, that's a very, very populated area, so one would expect to see newspaper headlines about this sort of thing, or are they just barely visible to the naked eye?
Not at all barely visible. These are very visible objects, although perhaps half of them are just above where most people would look up if they're walking down the street.
Yeah, they're quite high up. You'd have to really be, looking to the sky to spot a lot of the ones that we've seen.
A few thousand feet, perhaps at the most, but most people going about their daily lives don't look up to see perhaps these things. At least at the heights we've been seeing them. But we have had some that have been very noticeable in the sky. If anyone was out looking up, they would not have missed it. Including, now we've seen more than 8 different types of UFO.
That was my next question. What are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing all kinds of things. We have been witnessing spheres, for example, that appear almost on cue to certain things that we've been doing, holding stationary positions for up to 15 minutes. We've had a large white, opaque white worm-looking thing in the sky, or tubular object, very large. The one we filmed on the September 10th looked more than 100 feet long. Imagine a large white maggot in the sky, scallop-edged, round ball on each end, moving against the wind. And I filmed this for 30 minutes and filmed it clearly flying against the wind. You can see the palm trees all going in one direction, and this thing is going in the opposite direction. And after about 20 minutes of filming it, it dissolved down into a much smaller object, but with many bright spheres below it, which just popped on like stars in daytime, and then the whole lot flew away in formation, maintaining their formation at speed. So it was like, I'm calling this a UFO sphere container. We've now seen several of these, and they've been seen in Mexico, filmed as well, in Mexico and in further parts of the world, and oftentimes they are seen in conjunction with multiple spheres. And we've now filmed the apparent process of a long, white, opaque object that you can't see through becoming a UFO fleet, what is called a UFO fleet, and flying away. And we filmed this.
All right, it's hard to even know where to begin. Again, this is a very heavily it's a very heavily populated area, and there should be other eyewitnesses.
Oh, there have been. We've had people email us photos of very similar objects in a relatively similar area up to West LA and parts over toward the valley.
In fact,
Chatsworth.
The last time we were on Coast to Coast a few months ago, we actually mentioned this, and we received a very interesting email from a lady a few miles from us who witnessed the same object I just described. So there are definitely other witnesses. We haven't received, lots of mail confirming lots and lots of witnesses, but there must be, because, as you said, this is a very populated area. In fact, it's the complete opposite to what I'm used to as a location for witnessing these type of events. And it's been very challenging to do these sky watches and to film these objects simply because we're right in the middle of a very built-up area, and nothing is, it's seen by everybody. We've had lots of people pull up, including the police, and ask us, what are we doing? But amazing things have been happening.
All right. You have, in order to appear tonight on Coast, you've put up a number of photographs on the website, a whole bunch of them. In fact, I think you've got several pages of them, don't you?
That's right, 1 to 4. And I know that we won't have time necessarily to go through all of these, but they're up there for people to see. A lot of the things we will be talking about can be looked at, give you an idea of what we are filming. Some of the stills were shot off our television. We don't have access to high-end equipment and studios to give you the best of the best that could be extracted from our images. But what we've put up is the best that we can obtain, and it gives you an idea of what we're seeing.
Okay, you're using high 8 video equipment, is that correct?
Yes. It's an old camera, but it's a very good one, we're told, by people who are expert with these cameras. It has a very good zoom. Some of these objects that we've filmed, even though they are close to us, i.e. less than a quarter of a mile away, 1,000 or a few thousand feet up, some of the objects have been at the limit of our camera's ability to get them in detail. I think this is a symptom of ufology.
It is, and let me tell you both. I've got a new video camera. Actually, I bought it about a year ago, so it's been out for a while now. It's a Sony high-definition camera, and there is so much difference between high-definition and standard video that for a ufologist, it's really, really worth the investment. It's a couple $1,000, but for high definition, and it's the real McCoy, real high definition, I would sure recommend that to you as a dream to have.
Yeah,
Sure.
that is on our wish list, right at the top of the wish list.
Exactly. If there's any entrepreneurs out there that can afford that, we would love it, because we have mentioned this to a number of producers around us who have cameras or have just obtained them, and we've said, look, we're getting all these sightings. We don't have the best of the best equipment, but so far no one has really come forward, except we did have a very interesting offer from MUFON, who asked us if we'd be interested in fixing a permanent camera, a website camera from our location, which I would love to say yes to, because there'd be nothing better than for everyone at home to log on, go online, look at our view, participate in the meditations we've been doing that have preceded many of these sightings, and take part in the meditation at home, and then look at the view we're watching and then see something.
I'm a retired Air Force SEAL grade officer who has been one of the few fortunate ones to probably read all of the UFO reports that were available outside of Project Blue Book in a building in Washington, D.C. years ago called Tempo E.
Really?
It was an intelligence...
You've read all the secret stuff?
You got it. And I did tell this to one Air Force officer who I think is your MUFON director down in Florida, but I can't remember his name.
Yes.
And he got quite intrigued by it, and I'm trying to put some names together for him of those people that would be able to confirm that. And
Look. I got to cut through the quick here, and I've got to ask you, basically, what do you know that we don't? If you've really read these papers, sir.
No, these were reports.
Reports, all right, that's fine.
Intelligence reports.
Okay, well, even better.
And they didn't deduce anything that said why or what they were. They just told what happened, where it happened, and when it happened, and copies were sent, that I recall, to the Defense Intelligence Agency. I don't remember if CIA or any other agency was a distribution for these.
Was there a conclusion?
There were no conclusions. No, they were strictly straight gathering of intelligence-type information.
Would somebody like yourself who read them come to a conclusion?
I came to the conclusion that there were many, many sightings that were never reported anyplace else except to this investigative intelligence agency, and then just filed, except what they were then subsequently transferred to DI, a Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yes.
And I'm not sure about the NSA or CIA because it's been too long ago that I've read them all, but there was a room with nothing but 5-drawer filing cabinets, and I had gotten special permission to go in and read them because I was in a special training situation. And I was just interested in the subject at the time. It wasn't until recently, till I moved out here in Nevada, that I've gotten more intrigued because of what we allegedly have out here in Area 51.
Did you sign a security statement?
Say again?
Again, I'll say, did you sign a security statement?
No, I was at the time holding the highest possible security clearance available in the Air Force at my level, which was an SSIR clearance, and it allowed me access to special intelligence.
Are you violating anything by telling us what you're telling us?
No, because I'm not telling you anything that most of the reports were secret.
Okay, that's why I asked you. A person reading them like yourself would conclude what? That we are being visited, that there are extraterrestrials, that the UFOs are really craft of some sort, built by some kind of intelligence. Would you conclude that?
I would conclude that, and I would also deduce that there are many, many, many visits and sightings that have never been reported anywhere except in this data bank of files. Now, whether they've been subsequently reduced to microfiche, destroyed, or what have you, I really don't know. I have never followed up on it myself. I have been told that other people have tried to get to these files, but I haven't had the right nomenclature or coding, and have been turned down by the Air Force because they said we don't have these files.
So filing a Freedom of Information Act, even if you knew you were going after, would be of no use.
No, they have filed apparently Freedom of Information Acts with this agency asking for those reports. However, they've gotten back negative statements. They're not available. They're no longer available. They never were available. You don't have the right file number, the right case number, the right sequence number. And, of course, that's just a way of...
All right, let me try one more question. It's irresistible. You are familiar with the nomenclature?
Yes, and I reported that to that gentleman in Florida, and I'm trying to think of his name. But I think he's
It does not matter.
Director. But he's an Air Force type that was familiar with it and was going to search for a way to get access to these files, if they still exist.
All right, look, I can't spend any more time with this right now, but I would like you to contact me either by mail or fax.
Yeah, I'm going to fax you because I've had a hell of a time trying to reach you. It's just virtually impossible to get through any of the lines.
I know,
and I've just recently started to try this with you.
All right, fax me, and thank you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I wanted to tell you a story that happened to me in November of '99.
Yes, sir.
I was working as a deputy sheriff in a rural county just north of Corpus Christi, Texas.
Ah.
And I got this about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got called to the office to sign some reports that a supervisor had approved.
Yes, sir.
And I took Highway 796 out of Tynan back towards Sinton. It's a very dark, desolate area bordered on both sides by the Anderson Ranch. No lights, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm coming up to the back gate of the Anderson Ranch, it's kind of about a 40-mile-an-hour curve, and I've drove the road most of my life, and I'm doing about, 75, 80. And in the middle of the road was a bright, luminous, have you ever seen a chem light? Like a marker light?
Oh, yes, sure.
It's about the size of a basketball, glowing in the road.
Just on the road or above the road?
No, hovering kind of in the headlights.
Hovering.
I slammed on the brakes and just looked at this thing and had no clue what to do, and it disappeared. Just no shot off into space, no nothing, just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there wondering, what to do or, not knowing what to do. And I start to accelerate, and I'm driving below the speed limit around this curve. And as I get around the curve, you can't see it. But as my lights come around, there's a herd of cattle in the road, and they're all black Angus. And had this thing not been there,
you'd have been in a collision.
I'd have been seriously injured or dead. I was just wondering if you ever heard anything like that.
Yes, I have. What do you think? What do you think that was? I mean, if you were forced to guess now, with all these years of reflection, what do you think that was? What do you think it might have been?
A light in the middle of the road. I have no clue.
But you must have thought some about it, huh? I mean, it warned you, didn't it?
Well, basically, I thought it had to be something warning me that, we deal with loose livestock all the time, and I mean, I've worked plenty of accidents where people hit cows in the middle of the night, and
if you had hit a bunch of black Angus going 75 miles an hour, they and you would be dead.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what happened to you was something very significant. Something warned you.
But what?
Did you write it up?
No, of course not. I had told one person, my ex-wife.
Yeah, well, good move.
I mean, I'm not going to tell a supervisor that. I didn't even want to tell you my name here, I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really appreciate the call, sir. Look, all I can say is that is the heart of what this program is about. It's about things we do not understand. And what you just heard, obviously, was a very true story. So we are here to explore that which is not explored elsewhere. And that was at the very core of what we do here. What warned him? We talk of guardian angels. We talk of dimensions. We talk of ghosts. We talk of, so many things here on this program. But something warned him. That was a real call. You could tell it was real. So that's what we're here for. That's why we're here.